It all started with a thermostat. Not a secret text message, not a lipstick stain on a collar, just a glowing screen on my living room wall flashing 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I just dragged myself home from work, exhausted, only to find my apartment transformed into a pigsty. Rachel, my girlfriend of nearly 3 years, sat cross-legged on the couch, scrolling on her phone. Beside her, her unemployed brother, Kyle, sprawled out like a king, surrounded by greasy fast food bags and empty soda cans. When I quietly turned the thermostat back down to 70, Kyle smirked, locked eyes with me and said, "You need to respect the rules in my sister's house." That was the moment everything changed. My name is Adam Collins. I'm 34, living just outside of Chicago in a 2-bedroom condo I worked damn hard for. I've been in IT project management for nearly 10 years now. Steady income, decent lifestyle, not flashy, but comfortable. I never needed much more than a quiet home, a fridge stocked with groceries, and the peace of knowing the bills were paid. For a while, I thought Rachel fit perfectly into that picture. We'd been together almost 2 years, and in the beginning she was everything I thought I wanted. Fun, affectionate, supportive. We'd cook together, take weekend trips, talk about maybe buying a house one day. I thought she appreciated stability. That illusion cracked when her younger brother, Kyle, lost his job. Rachel sat me down one night, her voice soft and pleading, and asked if he could crash with me, just for a month or two, until he gets back on his feet. I wasn't thrilled about it, but I wanted to show her I was supportive. A good boyfriend. So I agreed. That was my first mistake. 1 month turned into 2. 2 into 4. And Kyle? He didn't so much as lift a finger to improve the situation. He slept until noon, stayed up half the night gaming, left trails of greasy wrappers, and stacked empty soda cans like trophies around the living room. Every time I pushed Rachel to confront him, she brushed me off with the same line. "Adam, he just needs more time. Don't be so hard on him." Meanwhile, I was working 50-hour weeks, paying the mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, while Kyle treated my condo like a frat house. The night with the thermostat was the breaking point. I just dragged myself home from work, bone-tired, and the thermostat glared at me, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. The place felt like a sauna. Kyle was sprawled across my couch like he owned it, shirtless, surrounded by a battlefield of burger wrappers. Rachel was beside him, scrolling through her phone like nothing was wrong. When I lowered the thermostat back down to 70, Kyle didn't even blink. He smirked, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You need to respect the rules in my sister's house." And Rachel? She said nothing. Not a word in my defense. She just sat there as if I was the intruder in my own home. That's when it hit me. This wasn't laziness anymore. This was betrayal. I wasn't the man of the house, I was the provider they were bleeding dry. And if they wanted to treat me like a doormat, I was about to show them what happens when the doormat finally gets pulled out from under their feet. After that thermostat incident, things only spiraled further downhill. Kyle grew bolder, testing my patience like it was his favorite sport. He blasted music at 2 in the morning, shaking the walls while I lay awake, staring at the ceiling before dragging myself into work exhausted. He raided the fridge constantly, leaving me with empty shelves and a trash can overflowing with greasy wrappers and crumpled soda cans. Once, when I asked him, politely, to take out the garbage, he snapped, "You're not my dad. Chill." But what cut deeper than Kyle's disrespect was Rachel's transformation. She wasn't my partner anymore. She stopped cooking with me. Stopped showing affection. Stopped even pretending to care about us. Instead, she treated me like a walking paycheck, a background character funding her and her brother's freeloading lifestyle. When I confronted her one evening, telling her I felt taken for granted, she barely looked up from her phone. "You're overreacting, Adam. Family comes first." "He's my brother." Family comes first. Translation, you come last. The worst moment came a few nights later. I walked past the living room and overheard them talking. Kyle's voice, smug as ever. "Don't worry, sis. Adam won't do anything. He's too soft." Then came Rachel's laugh, light, dismissive, like I was some pathetic fool they could use until I broke. That laughter lit something in me. A spark of cold clarity. They thought they had me cornered. They thought I'd swallow their disrespect forever. They were wrong. I didn't scream. I didn't throw them out that night. Instead, I went silent. I started documenting everything. Piles of trash left untouched, dishes cracked and abandoned in the sink, utility bills spiking because Kyle cranked the heat whenever he wanted. I snapped photos. I logged dates. I kept a ledger of every expense: mortgage, groceries, electricity, Wi-Fi. Every single dollar I carried for the two of them. My quiet revenge began with a phone call. I reached out to a lawyer recommended by a colleague and explained the situation. He walked me through the eviction process in Illinois, slow, deliberate, but ironclad if I followed it properly. Once the paperwork was filed, Kyle and Rachel couldn't just sweet-talk their way out of it. I hung up the phone with a strange calmness. For the first time in months, I felt in control. That evening, as they lounged on the couch, Kyle with his controller in hand, Rachel glued to her phone. I sat at the dining table drafting the first notice. My hands shook slightly as I wrote, but my mind was sharp, steady. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about reclaiming my home, my dignity, my life. And they had no idea the storm I was about to unleash. I called it my quiet war. Not a battle of fists or screaming matches, but a slow, methodical dismantling of the illusion Rachel and Kyle thought they controlled. Step 1. Protect myself. I bought a solid lock for my bedroom door. Every night, I carried my laptop, important documents, and anything of real value inside. The first time Kyle tried to jiggle the handle and found it locked, he scoffed loud enough for me to hear through the door. "What's the matter, Adam? Think we're gonna rob you?" I didn't answer. Silence unnerved him more than any comeback. Step 2. Stop feeding the parasites. No more shared groceries. I bought a mini fridge and stocked it with my food. The main fridge, once filled weekly with my paycheck, became Kyle's playground. Within days, it was reduced to ketchup packets, half a loaf of bread, and cheap beer he managed to scrounge up. I'd slip into my room with a quiet dinner while they whined about being hungry. Step 3. Stop cleaning up after them. I invested in disposable plates, cups, and cutlery. Every meal, I ate and tossed the trash in a bag I kept in my locked room. The sink downstairs turned into a mountain of their dirty dishes, mold growing, flies circling. When Rachel complained, I pointed to my clean paper plates and shrugged. Their mess, their problem. Step 4. Cut off finances. Rachel had quietly tied herself into my accounts, my credit card, our streaming subscriptions, even a grocery fund she promised to manage. I severed it all. I called the bank, removed her access, closed every shared login. The next morning, when Netflix didn't load, I heard Kyle's tantrum from across the condo. Why the hell isn't it working? Because, buddy, the free ride was officially over. Step 5. Legal action. The crown jewel of my plan. My lawyer helped me draft a proper 30-day eviction notice. Illinois law required precision, and I wasn't about to give them any loopholes. When I handed the papers to them one evening, Kyle laughed, tossing the notice onto the coffee table like it was a prank. "Cute. You think you're kicking us out?" Rachel tried the guilt tactic. Her voice cracked with faux hurt. "Adam, how could you do this to us? We're family." I looked her dead in the eyes. "No, Rachel. I'm not family. I'm your landlord. And the lease is up." The silence that followed was thick, electric. Kyle's smirk faltered. Rachel's eyes watered, not with sadness, but with fear. They finally understood. I wasn't bluffing. The shift in their faces, that sudden cocktail of panic and disbelief, was better than any shouting match. But deep down, I knew one thing with absolute certainty: they wouldn't leave quietly. And I was ready for whatever came next. The war escalated faster than I expected. Kyle retaliated in the only ways he knew: petty, childish, and loud. He blasted music at 3 a.m., stomped around like an angry toddler, and left half-eaten food in the sink until it stank up the entire condo. Rachel tried the opposite strategy: tears, soft voices, acting like nothing had changed. One night, she even slipped into my bed as if we were still a couple. I sat up, looked her dead in the eyes, and said flatly, "Get out." The flicker of shock in her expression told me everything. She knew she had lost her grip on me. When guilt didn't work, they turned to optics. They knocked on neighbors' doors, telling anyone who would listen that I was kicking them out unfairly. What they didn't realize was that I had already shown my neighbors the eviction notice and explained the situation. Plus, I had my lawyer, my photos, my detailed log. Facts don't bend to pity. 2 weeks into the notice period, their desperation peaked. Kyle cornered me in the kitchen, puffing out his chest like he was some kind of enforcer. "You think you can just toss us out? You don't know who you're messing with. I'll make things ugly." What he didn't know was that I had already installed a small security camera in the corner, angled perfectly at the kitchen. His entire rant, every threat, every aggressive step toward me, was recorded, time-stamped, and automatically saved to the cloud. If he wanted ugly, I had legal ammo ready. They tried little sabotages. Garbage bags appeared in the hallway. Random sticky spills were left on the counters. A mysterious scratch appeared on my coffee table. Each time, I calmly took photos, added them to my growing file, and emailed copies to my lawyer. Every petty move only dug their grave deeper. Rachel made one last desperate play. She showed me a blurry photo of a pregnancy test, tears streaking down her cheeks. "Adam, you can't do this to us. I'm pregnant." I didn't blink. "Great. Then show me the medical records." Her face crumbled. Another lie, exposed. The final day came like a storm breaking. A sheriff knocked at the door, official papers in hand, there to oversee the eviction. Kyle cursed, Rachel sobbed, but it was all background noise. They stuffed their belongings, mostly trash bags of clothes and old electronics, into a beat-up sedan and drove off without looking back. A few weeks later, I heard from a mutual friend that they were back living with their parents. Kyle was unemployed, broke, and humiliated. Rachel had lost more than just me. She had lost the apartment, the comfort, the safety net she thought was hers forever. Meanwhile, my condo was mine again. Silent. Peaceful. I celebrated by repainting the living room, tossing out the old couch Kyle had destroyed, and buying a brand new one. The thermostat sat at a perfect 70 degrees. Exactly how I wanted it. For the first time in months, I felt free. Looking back, I realized the thermostat fight wasn't the beginning. It was the revelation. The glowing number on the wall wasn't about temperature, it was a flashing warning sign. The moment Kyle barked that this was his sister's house, everything clicked. Rachel and Kyle never saw me as a partner, never respected me as a man who built this life. To them, I was a resource, a wallet, a roof, a fool to be drained. But fools only stay fools if they refuse to act. That night, I made a choice. I could keep tolerating their disrespect, let them chip away at my peace until there was nothing left, or I could take control. And by standing up, by taking quiet, calculated steps, I reclaimed not just my home, but my dignity. What's wild is that I didn't need to scream, or throw punches, or match their chaos with my own. I didn't need to stoop to Kyle's childish games or Rachel's emotional manipulation. I used patience, documentation, and the law. And in the end, it wasn't me who crumbled, it was them. They collapsed under the weight of their own laziness, lies, and entitlement. Here's the message I want anyone listening to take away. Boundaries are everything. If someone disrespects your home, your effort, your kindness, don't beg them to stop. Don't cling to the hope that they'll magically change. Protect yourself. Draw a line and enforce it. Because parasites only survive when you keep feeding them. I thought I was losing a girlfriend. I thought I was breaking apart something I'd invested years into. But what I really lost was a manipulator and her enabler. And honestly, that's not a loss, it's a win. It's subtraction by addition. The moment they walked out with their trash bags was the moment I gained my peace back. Today, my condo is my sanctuary again. I can walk into the living room and breathe. I can sit on my clean couch, thermostat at a perfect 70, and know that every square inch belongs to me. No freeloaders, no games, no betrayal, just silence, freedom, and the kind of calm you can't put a price on. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It isn't fire and fury. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge is quiet. It's calm. It's the moment you shut the door on toxic people and hear the silence they leave behind. And trust me, that silence is priceless. That was my story, but now it's your turn. Have you ever dealt with freeloaders, betrayal, or someone taking advantage of your home and trust? How did you handle it, and what lessons did you carry forward? Drop your experience in the comments. I'd love to read them. And if stories of cheating, manipulation, and hard-earned revenge resonate with you, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter.